In the hills of West Virginia lived a girl named Nancy Brown. You never saw such beauty for miles and miles around. Nancy and the deacon climbed the mountains high one day, caused her mammy dear to worry, and her pappy's hair turned gray. She came rolling down the mountain, rolling down the mountain, rolling down the mountains by the dam. But she didn't give the deacon the thing that he was seeking, and remained as pure as a West Virginia ham. Then along came a cowboy with his song, took Nancy to his cabin, though she still knew right from wrong. She came rolling down the mountain, rolling down the mountain, rolling down the mountains mighty wide. But despite the cowboy's urging, she remained a local virgin and as pure as the West Virginia skies. Then along came a city slicker with his $100 bills, took Nancy in his Packard way up in them there hills. Oh, she stayed up in the mountains, stayed up in the mountains, she stayed up in the mountains all that night. She returned the next morning early, more a woman than a girlie, and her pappy kicked the hussy out of sight. Now she's living in the city, living in the city, living in the city, doing swell. She's whining and she's dining on her fanny, she's reclining, and the West Virginia hills can go to heck. Then along came the Depression, took the slicker by the pants, took away his money, took away his Nance. She went back to the mountains, back to the mountains, back to the mountains feeling sore. And the cowboy and the deacon got the thing that they were seeking, 'cause Nancy's just a West Virginia cutie. Oh, I took a trip to Drebytown one day, and there I saw the funniest goat that was ever fed on hay. Hokey dokey tiddledy-winks, and maybe you think I lie, but take a trip to Drebytown and see the same as I. Now the horns upon this billy goat were made of solid brass, and one stuck out of the top of his head and the other stuck out of his hokey dokey tiddledy-winks, and maybe you think I lie. Take a trip to Drebytown and see the same as I. Now the legs upon this billy goat were spread so far apart that every time he took a step he let out a heck of a hokey dokey tiddledy-winks, and maybe you think I lied. Take a trip to Drebytown and see the same as I. Now the hair upon this billy goat was wonderful and thick, and all the girls in Drebytown were looking for his hokey dokey tiddledy-winks, and maybe you think I lied. Take a trip to Drebytown and see the same as I. Now the man that owned this billy goat was wonderful and rich, but the man that shot this billy goat was a lousy son of a hokey dokey tiddledy-winks, and maybe you think I lie. Take a trip to Drebytown and see the same as I. Now that this poor billy goat is dead, we threw him on the dock, we threw him in the river with a brick tied to his hokey dokey tiddledy-winks, and maybe you think I lied. Take a trip to Drebytown and see the same as I. Now that my story's ended, I hope you like it. If you don't like my story, stick your head in a bucket of hokey dokey tiddledy-winks, and maybe you think I lied. Take a trip to Drebytown and see the same as I.
It isn't because she wouldn't, it isn't because she shouldn't, and Lord only knows it's not because she couldn't. It's simply because she's the laziest gal in town. Her poor heart is aching to bring home the bacon, and if she's alone and forsaken, it's simply because she's the laziest gal in town. So she's more than willing to learn how these gals get money to burn. Every proposition she turns down, way down, way down. It isn't because she wouldn't, It isn't because she shouldn't, and Lord only knows it's not because she could. It's simply because she's the laziest gal in town.